Hi, friends. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Hello APGD, a neighborhood podcast about the Audubon Park Garden District in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Michael Lothrop, and today we'll be speaking with Bob O'Brien, longtime resident and Audubon Park's premier real estate agent for Keller Williams Realty at the park. For home listings and more, go to eobryant.com. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you'd like to be a sponsor, please feel free to message me on Instagram at HelloAPGDPod. Thank you for listening. My guest today is Bob O'Brien of Keller Williams Realty at the Parks. Welcome. Thank you for being here, Bob.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
Absolutely. Excited to have you on the podcast since we're neighbors and we've had some great conversations. And also, you have a unique perspective on the neighborhood as a resident and a real estate agent whose primary focus is Audubon Park.
I will say I'm expert on the real estate at Audubon Park.
Excellent. I can't wait to learn more. So going back to when you first moved here or even first visited Audubon Park, what was your first impression of the neighborhood?
The neighborhood when I moved here, so I've been in the neighborhood about 30 years. I'm in my second house. And when we moved here from Atlanta, the two best schools were Dr. Phillips and Winter Park. So we picked this based on the school district. Mm-hmm. And it was a little more affordable than Winter Park.
Definitely.
But we had the same schools. So that's exactly why we moved here. And the neighborhood's just getting better and better ever since. Because 30 years ago, Korean Drive to me was like dry cleaners and gas stations. Mm-hmm. And now it's sushi bars and craft beer and ramen noodles and ice cream. It's all good.
So how many bakeries do we have too? We have donuts, we have breads, we have pastries.
P is for pie, mm-hmm. Salty donut, Gideon's. The one bakery I super miss is Old Hearth.
I know, they were great.
East End just decided not to renew their lease. And
it's a bummer.
Yeah, because I'm a bread freak.
Yeah, have you been to Sugar Dough Bake Shop yet?
That used to be where Bluebird. Mm-hmm. I have been there once, mm-hmm. and it was okay. I mean, it wasn't for me. I can see how people would love that place.
I think you have to try everything because there's something for everybody there, I think.
Trying everything that's a big job.
It is a big job.
I don't know if I can do that.
I feel like you're up for it.
But, people line up for Gideon's and people line up for salty donuts. P is for pie. The whole thing is crazy. How many people come here for our bakery district now?
Mm-hmm. And people travel here when they're visiting Disney Springs, which used to be downtown Disney, because Gideon's has a shop there. And when the line gets too crazy there, people will actually come here just to pick up cookies from Disney, which is amazing. I mean,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean they've made it that big already, and they've branched out, and they're Disney famous now, which is
when your
awesome.
Second location is Disney World.
Yeah.
I think you hit a home run.
Right, right. And I mean, as if their lines kind of weren't indication of that enough. I mean, they always have a line.
Well, they have a line, and Winter Park Biscuits seems to have a line. Mm-hmm. So I definitely are going to go to those places like at the off-peak.
Yep.
Like Wednesday mornings.
That's perfect. So speaking of all the changes that you've seen over the years, what has surprised you about kind of what has changed about the neighborhood?
Well, you may or may not know that every neighborhood completely turns over every 60 years. So when the neighborhood was brand new, people moved in and out, in and out, in and out, until it got to the point where people moved in and stayed. So, and you're going to see that in Baldwin Park. It's every neighborhood. It doesn't matter what the neighborhood is. It's just the time frame.
Sure.
Because when this was all a brand new neighborhood, all the super cute young families and young couples were moving in their 20s.
Right.
60 years later, they are either moving to an assisted living or they're no longer here. So in my time here, the neighborhood has completely shifted from mostly older people now to predominantly young couples and young families. And people walking dogs, people pushing strollers, they're out all the time. And
Yeah, it's been a huge demographic shift, and that affects the customer base here as well, and the types of shops that are here. And there are a lot of shop owners that live in the neighborhood as well. So
Right.
it just kind of works out that way. And with East End opening up, that's like a whole bunch of shops in a new building. So, we were kind of before limited to the footprint of the two main plazas, Stardust, the other plaza where Flower Number 5 is, and then the small strip mall there. But now it has grown, and there will be other things coming, I'm sure.
Right, because they turned an abandoned church into East End Market.
Mm-hmm.
They turned a auto repair shop into Bim Bam Restaurant, and they turned the
donut place,
BB&T.
right? Mm-hmm.
No, the
bank.
BB&T turned into Bim Bam,
Right.
and there's no more BB&T, just like that.
Yeah.
And the auto repair, Gene's Auto, is now a super uber cool donut store where you can get a guayaba and cheese donut, which are really good.
The salty, yes. I've had a few donuts from there. They're really good.
Yeah.
I try not to eat too many donuts, but when I do,
it's a salty one.
Yeah, it is. And there's Mochi Dochi, which is another donut shop upstairs at East End.
Well, I think they are taking over the old Hearth space downstairs.
I think that's right. Mm-hmm.
And that's the one bakery, because I like baked goods, but I just like bread sometimes, like good bread.
Yeah, and Old Hearth is one of the best in town. And they're everywhere, which is great. So I noticed on your website, you have a tagline that says, "Your real estate agent for life." And I really like that. Does some of that trust and the relationship come from living here and being part of the community?
I guess.
Mm-hmm. How else do you build trust? I mean,
be honest with people.
Sure.
And tell them the truth.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way.
That's a great tip.
Just don't lie.
Okay. All right. Go.
Just say, hey, maybe your house could use a little spiffing up, or give them like your honest opinion of the value.
Sure.
And not overinflate things.
Makes sense.
And just communicate. You cannot, in my business, it's impossible to over-communicate. In fact, the number one complaint against real estate agents in general is I never hear from them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's best to talk to them more than not.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, when I purchased this home, it was a for sale by owner. So it was a very different experience. And this was actually the first house that I looked at. And I just knew that I wanted to live here.
I think we looked at this house too.
Oh, you did?
I don't know if it was the same time frame, but
it's around 2000, 2001.
Yeah, I think the people had like an RV parked here or something somewhere.
I think so. Yeah, because there's an outlet back here. So it's interesting. It's just all these little things that you find in these houses built in the 50s, these modifications and kind of figuring out like how they did it and why. And I do kind of love it. One of the things that I wanted to ask about is, your thoughts on historic preservation of, residences here, because part of the trend is sort of buying and tearing down and building anew. I wanted to kind of see what your thoughts were on that.
It's happening everywhere. Mm-hmm. Winter Park, College Park, Thornton Park, now Audubon Park. I think it's good and bad.
Yeah.
The houses that builders and the price point builders are willing to pay
Mm-hmm.
are typically houses nobody else wants to buy because they have so much deferred maintenance that, like yourself, you would go any of these houses that were torn down, you would probably walk in and look around and say no thank you and leave.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, part of,
And then so they built a $1 million house there. So does that make the neighborhood better or worse?
it depends on what you value. And, some of these houses don't really fit the style. And that's sort of a hard thing to see happen. I mean, you want people to be happy with their homes, but also, these homes built in the 50s are very well built and they're built to last. Unfortunately, the trend then was kind of smaller bedrooms and, not as much of a flow. And some of that stuff is sort of hard to modify after
Smaller
the fact.
bedrooms, small closets, small bathrooms. And today's 20 or 30 something year olds want big closets, big bathrooms, and if sometimes the 50s house is not for those people.
Right.
But if you want to live next to all the cool stuff and where all the cool people are living, then that's what you get.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever feel like you get to encourage people to, love the house that they're buying rather than if they're looking to tear it down and build a new?
Most people are not looking to tear it down. If you are a contractor, builder kind of person, that's what you're looking for.
Sure.
But you're going to buy a lot now for like a 75 by 110 lot for about $350 or something. And you're going to spend 10 grand maybe knocking it down. And you're going to build a 2-story, 26 to 3,000 square foot house and sell it for $1 million.
Right.
So,
and they're getting those prices here too.
Yes, they are.
Which is wild. I mean, in the 20 years that I've been here, it's like it's like a different exchange rate. It's pretty nuts.
Well, I just looked at some statistics today, and not just our neighborhood, but the Orlando market in general, let's say primarily Orange and Seminole County, had a price increase this year from March to April of 4% on average. And from April last year to April this year, 20% increase in price.
Wow.
So we'll see what happens. I'm not sure how long that's sustainable, but
right.
Because as you know, Orlando's not known for a plethora of high-paying tech jobs and things like that.
Yeah.
We don't have Amazon or Google or Microsoft or those things.
Yeah. I mean, luckily we do have the UCF, we have a lot of healthcare here and a lot of investments in healthcare. So those jobs are here, but you're absolutely right. Like, we are a very much service industry based community.
And I think for a city of this size, we have the lowest average pay of all the cities in the country of this size.
It's so hard.
So now it makes it the most expensive place to live.
And I mean, how something's got to give there, right? If people, the people who are moving here, I know a lot of people who are looking to buy houses, and they're just kind of, they get very frustrated because
they should have bought it 2 years ago.
Right. Unfortunately. And who knows, there might be a correction at some point, and then they might, find themselves, having more luck. But
well, the thing that's really supporting the prices is we have a national housing shortage.
Right.
So in the Great Recession of 2008, if anybody remembers when that happened,
I've heard of it.
Orlando was a poster child for short sales and foreclosures, just like our sister cities, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Detroit. We were like the spots. But right now, everybody has equity. everybody, if you bought your house last year, you have equity. 20% is worth. So, and it's much better to buy than to rent, because if you rent, you can't control any of your costs because the rent can go up every year. So if you buy, you lock in your cost of living.
But you also have to be able to afford that mortgage and home repairs.
You gotta
and
live somewhere, Mike.
You've got to. I mean, we all have to. And we all want to live here. And it is a struggle. I mean, the demographics in the neighborhood are changing just because, people with means really are the only people that are buying homes here. And so that has definitely changed over the years. It's kind of like, I was in my 20s when I purchased my house, and I had luckily the foresight and the ability to do that. But, my friends now that are like in their 40s and they're looking, and it seems impossible. So it's, that's definitely.
It's not easy.
It's not.
It's not. It's super expensive. There's, if you find the house you like, it's going to be almost guaranteed a competitive situation.
Right.
And, when I have a house that I have listed for sale, all the buyer's agents call and say, well, what's the seller looking for? And I'm like, they're looking for the same thing all the other sellers are looking for, right? They want a cash offer over asking, no appraisal, no inspection. I'm sure that's not how your offer is going to be, but that's what they're looking for.
Right. And they can get it from somewhere usually, right? Somebody's willing to do that.
Or they can get a lot of those pieces in place, yeah.
So how did you get your start in real estate?
Well, I got my license. That's how I started.
Okay. That's a good start. Also, more good advice. So, thank you.
You got to have a license. It's highly regulated by the state of Florida.
That's a whole thing.
And I asked this guy I respect that had been in business for years and years and years. And I think almost everybody that gets into real estate has the same question at first. It's like, I got my license. Now what?
Sure.
So this person told me to go knock on every door in my neighborhood every day, and that in a year I would be famous. And I'm like, that's it? He's like, that's it. Just go do it. So I didn't know any better. So that's what I did. Things kind of worked out.
That's amazing. and they really have. You and Elaine, your wife, are known as real estate power couple in town.
I have never heard that.
It started here, but and so you've worked together as a team for now decades.
She had her license before me, and we started working together in 2005. So about 17 years.
And what advice would you give to other couples who might be thinking about going into business together? And we don't have to get too personal. This can be something that you learned along the way, or just something that you instinctively figured out.
Be very careful.
Sure, absolutely. Take your time with this one.
No, because so I had a corporate sales job before. And I thought, if I'm working this hard for those people for this much money, I might as well be doing it for myself. And working with Elaine, okay, we already live together, sleep together, now we're going to work together. It was, I just knew it was going to be either really, really good or really, really bad. So, so she would just tell me what to do, and I would do it, and then everything worked out.
All right.
More or less.
That's great advice. Absolutely. Well, you're definitely a great team, and you can tell, just seeing the two of you together and just knowing your track record for selling homes. I mean, do you have an idea about how many homes in Audubon Park you've sold?
In Audubon Park, I really don't, but I think we probably have sold, since the year 2000, we probably sold more houses in this neighborhood than any other one agent.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, other agents would call us and say they have a buyer looking in this neighborhood, and they would ask us what's coming on next.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that was always a good thing when those calls came in, because it just kind of verified that we had our finger on the pulse. And
Well, being in, like, living in the neighborhood and taking walks and in evenings and, just seeing homes and people doing work on their homes, and you kind of wonder, are they kind of prepping to sell and that sort of thing? You really have that perspective, right?
well, actually, I would go and knock on their doors. I
Mm-hmm.
probably knocked on your door a few times.
Probably. Because
And
our front yard looks so good, right?
it's
Yeah.
awesome. I want to get the name of your landscaper too.
I do
I really
also.
need to get them over to my house.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but no, my purpose, it was like people thought when I was walking in the neighborhood that I was doing that for exercise, but I was really just doing it it was like a business exercise. So.
Sure. Well, I mean, I love the houses here too. I mean, during lockdown for the pandemic, like Gabby and I would go on long walks, and just this neighborhood it's so great to walk and just look at the different houses and what people are doing. And I mean, every house is different. So much character, so much care goes into upkeep and, revitalizing the homes. And it's clearly like people have a good attitude about this neighborhood.
Right. And more or less, if you walk down the street and you look at all the houses, they all look very similar from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go inside, they're all completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been in houses not that long ago that were like original 1956, where nothing had been updated. And then I've been in ones where it looks like the house was built last year because everything is updated, very cool, and the top quality construction. So,
Mm-hmm.
but the outside, they all have a similar look and feel. A lot of Fletcher Sorensen or Sorensen Fletcher homes here. That was like a big builder in the 50s, and they all kind of look the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How many
the roof
styles?
lines and
Yeah, it was like they had a certain number of styles of homes. So like the layout was the same, but over the years, people make some alterations to their homes and
well, people, yeah, they would add on because
mm-hmm.
whatever, you have a family and you close in the garage, you make that a room, and people did whatever they could do over time. But now the renovations you're seeing are really quality projects. You're seeing people put a lot of thought into it and spend a lot of money doing it. So,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And in 2018, you were one of the hosts for the garden tour for Audubon Park.
I was.
Yeah. How was that experience for you?
So when Jennifer Marvel asked for volunteers, we volunteered.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how it started. And then once we knew we were going to be on the tour, we just started spending every available moment cleaning the yard. It was like a great motivation just to get things cleaned up. So,
Mm-hmm. And it looked great. I mean, you
were there, huh?
I was there. You have a view of the lake. You have your pool. You have all these tropical plants. It's a good amount of land.
Well, for years, going way back, I was in the Bromeliad Society, and I would grow all these kinds of bromeliads. And Elaine's like, well, if you're going to grow bromeliads, which no matter how long you grow them, they only go to a certain size.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, why don't you start growing palm trees?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So I joined the Central Florida Palm and Cycad Society, and that enabled me to be part of the seed bank and buy seeds of all kind of different palm trees that would grow here. And I planted them in my yard.
That's amazing. I love it. And it's beautiful back there. I mean, it really.
Well, you have your own little oasis here, so
Thank you. We try. It sort of thrives on its own. We don't do irrigation, so.
so you're like me. You have a Darwinian garden.
Correct.
If
yes.
it survives, it can stay.
Absolutely.
And if it doesn't, it doesn't.
And you see the pencil cactus is thriving, and traveler palm, and birds of paradise, sea grape.
Oh,
So.
some crotons.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's very nice, very relaxing here.
Thank you.
Looks like a great party house, actually.
It was a great party house pre everything. So. And maybe one day it will be again. We will see. Well, I always say that part of enjoying where you live is having a travel plan and just something on the horizon, just getting out and seeing something different. And I was wondering if you have any travel plans coming up.
No big ones. We did so this a year ago. We'd been in the house like every day in the house, except for to go get food.
Mm-hmm.
And Elaine says we should plan a vacation. I'm like, that sounds great. And she goes, why don't we just plan it for next year, which is this year, 2022. And, by then it'll be okay to travel. Everything will be fine. And I was like, yeah, that sounds good. So we're talking, and she's like, our one son-in-law really wanted to go to Merida, Mexico. That was on his list. And she goes, why don't we look around there? So then maybe they'll come join us on vacation too. So I found this house on the beach in the Yucatan. Airbnb. It popped up within 5 minutes. And I just showed it to her, and she booked it. So she goes, oh, I talked to the Airbnb lady, and I booked the house for a month. I'm like, a month? Are you kidding? I'm thinking like a week, maybe 2.
I mean,
she's like, if we're going to go, we might as well just go, right?
After all of that time indoors, I get it.
So we got a big house, and then one daughter and her husband came for the whole month. The other one and her family came for like 10 days, and then we had other friends pop in for a week. It was and we were like our own house with, you don't have to deal with everybody like at a hotel, and it was wonderful.
That's amazing.
It was amazing.
And what do you think about people buying houses and doing the Airbnb thing in Audubon Park?
Well, there's people that do that, and I think it serves a purpose. Some people do their whole house or rooms in their house, or they have a separate dwelling or building that they rent out. And I think as long as, there's no... I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Unless you have people having like wild and crazy parties next door.
Sure.
Then even if it wasn't an Airbnb, you wouldn't want that. So,
and that can be a strategy for helping pay those extra high mortgages as well. If you have the ability
or if you have the extra space,
right?
That makes sense, right?
Yep. So that can be an option for those out there who are looking and feeling frustrated. That may be a way to help make ends meet with a higher mortgage.
Yeah, Airbnbs aren't cheap now either. So
no, that's true. That's true.
They could probably pay your whole mortgage if you market it right.
It's really true. And I always know you as an advocate for small businesses and local brands. What are some of your favorite spots in Audubon Park?
Lola Sushi. Red Light. Bin Bomb. I love Bin Bomb. And, Kelly's Ice Cream is really good. I just can't go there every day.
I know. It's really good.
You go and you're like, the line goes down the sidewalk, people waiting to go in. It's like, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to go in the exit door and grab a prepackaged container already in the cooler,
that's
ready
smart.
to go.
Yeah.
Because there's enough choices that I'm going to be good.
Yep.
I don't need to get this very, very, very specific one.
Mm-hmm.
If it says anything like chocolate chip mint or cookie dough or anything close to that, I'm good.
Yeah.
And they have it every time.
Every time.
Every time.
It's
That's a
amazing.
great place.
It is such a great, and they've grown. I mean, they have so many locations now. Every time I look, there's a new Kelly's.
I felt so special that we had the only one that was, from the food truck to Kelly's ice cream. And now, no, there's like, they have one in every neighborhood, it feels like. They're all over town.
Right? Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
When your stuff is good, it's good.
Yep. And Audubon Park was the first spot to get Kelly's, right? Which is part of the theme,
And I can walk from my house to it.
And
I can actually walk to my house to any of the things we're talking about.
It's one of the best things about living here. And, I find that in my travels and seeing other places, it's rare to find a neighborhood that is so close to a business district that has so much, and it's, almost 100% independent. We have 7-Eleven and we have ABC, which is a Florida business, but really 7-Eleven
That's about it.
Is it. So everything else is independent, great gift shops, great places to eat.
Which is unlike other parts of town.
Right. And, the history here, it's interesting when you go back and look at how it's evolved and how it started. This was built for the Navy base, right?
Well, and before that, it was Air Force Base.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think Corrine is actually as wide as it is now, because back in the day, whenever that was, they had to widen it to get heavy equipment to the base, in and out of the base.
It had to be big enough for tanks to go down in case, something, there was a reason for tanks to go down it, right? And the plazas, the roofs, I don't know if I'm saying that word correctly. The roof is actually built
to have a helicopter land on it.
Correct. In case
Gene Willard told me that.
Yeah.
And he's been around longer than I have. So.
I'm excited to interview Gene. Yeah, I was talking with him yesterday, about his shop. He's been there since '79, and he says
the whole thing, the roofs are reinforced, is strong enough that a helicopter can land on it if it need to be. I don't know why you would land there. You have an airport right across the street, but
it's weird, right? Yeah, they had different ideas about safety then and what the plan was going to be, but.
Well, it wasn't. We were pretty close to the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yep. Yeah, and it just, really good bones here. Things were built to last, and they have. And it is now a destination neighborhood, whereas before, we were kind of, this was built to serve the base, and then it was kind of, Corinne Drive, that corridor is a passageway from Baldwin Park and Winter Park and Orlando. So we're kind of a connector, but, we've become that destination neighborhood that, we always wanted to be.
I think we're a super destination now.
Right?
Yeah. If you go on the weekend, go there and look at all the people out hanging out and eating and drinking, and it's crazy.
It is. It's so different from 20 years ago. Even 10 years ago. It's really evolved. So that's why I'm doing this podcast, is to kind of capture some of those stories and learn about the history and how we got here and how to maintain it, how others can kind of replicate it for their neighborhoods if, in any way possible.
I think it happens so organically that I don't think you can make a checklist on how to do it.
I don't think so.
I think it just, the right people were here at the right time and had visions. Even the Monday market, somebody had an idea 10 or 15 years ago. I don't know. It's been a while.
Yep.
And it's still going. And
going strong. Absolutely.
And that was super organic. And you have to have people that believe in certain things and the passion to carry it out. And a lot of those people ended up around here. So
yeah. And it's no coincidence either. it really, that kind of spirit attracts others to do that. And, our occupancy is basically at 100% for the businesses right now. We have a couple that are in construction, but, we're...
I mean, you look up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kelly's Ice Cream started as a food truck.
Yeah.
Bim Bom was a food truck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's just like, okay, you were good enough that everybody loved your food, that you have a place that's permanent. That
Right.
We don't have to look and see where you're going to be. We know where you're going to be.
Mm-hmm. And Winter Park Biscuit Company was started as a pop-up.
And
Mm-hmm.
I've been up there before, and the line wraps around the building. I'm like, I mean, the food's good, but it's like, it's super popular.
It is. It's
super popular. And it's vegan chicken and biscuits.
Yep. And it seems like the real deal. And there's nothing really like that in any other part of town. And that's, I think, what a lot of our shops have going for it is just, you don't get that experience when you go elsewhere. So
during COVID, we are not going to restaurants. We are not going anywhere. And then last spring, for about a month, it felt safe to go out. And it's like, let's go to Bin Bom. Let's try their burger of the year. It's like, that thing is good.
Yeah. And they have outdoor seating, which is really nice.
And we sat outdoors, and it was a day like this, kind of, where it's super comfortable. And it's like, wow, remember the old days? We used to go to restaurants.
I know. I can't wait for that to fully come back. But outdoor, they say, is safe, and most of our shops here do have outdoor options. And the at East End, the courtyard is mostly covered, shaded. It's a good spot.
East End has outdoor. Bin Bom B3 Cafe has outdoor sidewalk cafe seating, and
Stardust.
You can sit outside. So
Red Light's got some outside seating, and
out in the back.
Out in the back, and some out front as well. And soon they'll have a full kitchen, so that'll be another eating
I heard
option.
Chef Jen is.
Jess, yeah, it's very exciting.
Chef Tantalo is going to be in charge.
I know. I can't wait.
Years ago, we entered a raffle and won, or we bid an auction and won. Dinner for 10 at the kitchen upstairs at East End with Chef Tantalo presiding. That was one of the funnest things ever.
That's so cool.
She goes, you can bring your own wine. I'll do all the food. So we did, and she did, and we invited 8 of our closest friends. It was 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
So we had 8 of our friends come with us, and it was a private party with a private chef. It was
what
amazing.
A unique experience, right?
It was amazing.
I love that. What a cool story.
Amazing.
I think I remember when you won that at one of the events there. That's really cool. Yeah, she's great. I mean, we're very
she's
lucky.
good friends with you and Gabby too.
She's a former roommate as well. Yeah. Yep. We're super close. So yeah, we're lucky that she's setting up shop in Audubon Park as well.
So when does that open? Do you know?
Sometime this year. Yes, that's all that I know. It's in the works.
Soon,
yes. Everything has supply chain delays and construction delays, and but I think they're moving along steadily at this point. Something more to look forward to.
So I had a chance to see a sales brochure from the 1920s about our neighborhood, Audubon Park. Except for on this brochure, it was called Lakewood Estates. And what I really found interesting is, number one, just adjacent to Audubon Park, on the other side of the school, Asbury Cole, Margate, all that, their legal description is called the first replat of Lakewood Estates. But also, if you go down the street here and there's a kind of little funky intersection with Cardinal and Oriole, and it just kind of...
The shape is crazy.
It's crazy. So on this map from the 1920s, that area was a swamp that connected Lake Katy and Lake Shannon. They weren't called Lake Katy and Lake Shannon at that time, but on the map, that was where it was. So now there's a giant pipe underground that kind of connects the lakes together. But years ago in natural Florida, old Florida, that was a swamp.
Wow.
That connected the two lakes. And if you go and look at it now, it makes total sense.
Yeah, because that intersection is so bizarre. I was looking at this Facebook group about Orlando history, and there were some photos of like a polo match that was just south of Corinne Drive, like somewhere where the neighborhood, prior to when the neighborhood was built. And it was just this photo of this polo match. Like that's the kind of thing that was going on at that time. Just,
now it's
you
down
never
in
know.
Palm Beach, right? So in Lake KD, K and D were the daughters' names of one of the developers. And Shannon was his wife.
Wow. I did not know that. That's kind of cool. Do you know the name of the developer?
I don't know.
See, he didn't put his name on anything.
No,
so
but in
forget.
my years of real estate and calling people I don't know, I came across this person. Her name was Kay, C-A-Y. And I was like, oh, are you familiar with Lake KD? She goes, that was named after me. And I had heard this from somewhere, the story before, that's where the names came from, but I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you who the developer was, but it was in the 50s.
Well, that's a beautiful thing that, he didn't put his name on it, but he put his loved ones on there.
Yeah,
that's
cool.
Awesome. I love that. That's a great story. And that kind of history, I love finding out about that stuff because it just makes you feel more attached to a place. You kind of understand the
People
changes.
have lived before us.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And we're so caught kind of in the present, which is, it's good to be present, obviously, but it's also good to know where things came from and what they were before. Well, Bob, thank you so much for being here. What is your website so people can go find you?
eobryant.com. EOBRYANT.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you again.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
Yep. We'll talk to you soon. Hello APGD, a neighborhood podcast, is brought to you in part by Stardust Video and Coffee, Audubon Park's beloved neighborhood cafe, bakery, bar, and meeting place, located at 1842 East Winter Park Road. We are also sponsored by Red Light Beer Parlor and Brewery. Founded in 2005, Red Light is widely known as the source for world-class imports and microbrews, a wide selection of natural wines, plus award-winning beers brewed in-house. A full kitchen is in the works with an amazing menu by Chef Jess Tantalo, so stay tuned for that. Located at 2810 Corinne Drive, please check out Red Light for all things beer and wine, and soon food. Our theme song is by Christopher Pierce, and special thanks goes to Trey Hester for mixing the episode and for all of his help in making this podcast a reality. We do hope you enjoyed this episode. If so, please click subscribe and leave a review if you'd like. We'll see you next time.